Hello nieces, hello nephews, it's your Uncle Charles here and welcome back to my YouTube channel where we do unbiased price action analysis. Nieces and nephews, we got another higher close for the S&P 500. Yesterday's close was just below my Fibonacci level. It closed at 448.73. Today it closed at 449.68 according to TradingView. Another higher open, but here's what's interesting about this candle. Where do we get selling pressure? Got selling pressure around that 451 level, 451.38 to be exact, but right around there. Remember, I gave you guys that 451 level based on a previous high back on September 14th. Is this a potential double top? Guys, that is the question, and I will try to answer that for you. But before I do, I want to talk about how we traded today. Another overall choppy day. Now, what is Uncle Charles' goal every single day? My goal every single day is to catch at least one level-to-level move. At least one level-to-level move. I catch one level-to-level move, I'm grateful, because a lot of times that's all the market wants to give us. Unfortunately, as retail traders, we want the market to give us nice trend days every day. But the truth is, the market tends to chop more than it trends. Okay, this is the trend phase, this is the chop phase. Right now, we're obviously in the chop phase. You guys can see this trend phase that we've been in since, late October. Candle starting to get smaller, meaning volatility getting a little smaller. Gonna need some either chopping or a decent sized pullback, especially after the breakaway gap, which is bullish. Okay, but was the intraday action bullish? Not quite. Today, like I said, 451 level. Most of the morning, at least the first hour didn't really do much, but it did bounce up to 451. And look here, it cleared 451 on a 1045 candle. I ignored that candle. Why did I ignore that candle? Because we were basing just under resistant. Looked like it was building strength to break out, and then when we finally got the breakout, it was pathetic. So I ignored that one. Wrote here on my Discord. Oh, that's my NVDA stuff. Wrote here on my Discord, okay? This right here, I had to go to my daughter's presentation at school, and I just wrote that I was back. But pretty much the first setup today, I wrote at 11:14 a.m. I wrote 451 broke out on the 15-minute chart. But now, breaking back below. This is when we got the false breakout. You guys see here on the later candle, 11 o'clock candle, we broke back below 451. So I let the group know, it did break out above the 15-minute chart, but now we're breaking back below. False breakout setup here, put in a back test of 448.7 to the 449 zone in play. Okay? I ignored that first one because it was a pathetic breakout after basing. If it would have gave us a bigger breakout, maybe I would have trusted it. I ignored it. Let's play the trap, sheep style. Played the false breakout, and look at that nice drop to the downside. It initially bounced off this 449.6 level. We was getting some buying pressure there. It wasn't one of my levels. I was targeting 448.7 to the 449 zone, but this was in the way. So I mentioned to the group, watch that 449.6 level, excuse me. Wrote in a group. I think I did write in the group. I don't remember where I wrote it. Oh, right here. So far, the false breakout of 451 got a drop to 449.6. It's not quite the level I was aiming for, but the market seems to be respecting it. So when that happens, I just simply add it to the chart, which I did. Gave us a dead cat bounce. I was just watching, see if we get the breakdown to see if it can confirm more downside, which it did, and finally hit my target, level to level. There was no reason to cut loss because, as you guys see, we short the breakdown of the false breakout. That's what we played, the trap setup. Didn't work out yesterday, but worked out today. Got a nice level move to the downside. Unfortunately, from there, as you guys can see, we didn't get much after that. Just a nice dead cat bounce, only to drop back down to the support zone. All right, one level move. That's all we can do, guys. Trade what's in front of us. Take what the market gives us. All right, I wish the market could give us more, but that's all it gave us, and we just take that. Now, if SPY's not enough, a lot of my Discord members, they make good money on NVDA and Tesla. So that's something I can say. If you're trading SPY and it's choppy, go check out another stock like NVDA, Tesla, Meta. Matter of fact, I'm going to cover those stocks later in the video, so make sure you guys stay tuned, all right? But for now, you know, that's how I trade the sheep style, playing the trap setups like we always do. Yesterday didn't really work out for me because the bears couldn't get it going, as you guys can see here. But today it worked out a little bit better. So between these 2 days, and we cut and lost yesterday, overall green. Let's hopefully the rest of the week we can get some more, actual directional movement, because this movement lately has not been very nice. All right, not been very nice, especially to beginner traders. Yeah, trading chops are pretty difficult. You know, you got to trade it with as little greed as possible, because you're not going to get a big move. And you got to be very tactical with your entry. You know, trading chops are not for inexperienced trader. You know, you probably do better if if you have more chance to practice with this condition of trading. But hopefully this condition of trading won't last that much longer. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about on the daily chart. You know, the pullback will probably give us some good volatility, but how will we know there's going to be a pullback? How do we know there's going to be a top? Because Uncle always say, Uncle, you say don't call the top. Well, then how are we going to know? Well, the first one, like I always say, false breakout, right? We broke out of this fib level, 78.6 fib level, which is exactly at 448.77. I tend to round it to 449 to the whole number, but give it a zone, 448.77 to 449. Okay, that's one thing if we want to get bearish. That's the bear case if that level fail. Another thing that'll, be a bearish sign. You know how yesterday I was talking about a breakaway gaps. Uncle been talking about gaps. So it got me thinking about different types of gaps. And another type of gap that I'd be watching for if I was a bear is the exhaustion gap. Okay, exhaustion gap is usually like, for example, there's an uptrend. And then once the uptrend starts getting tired, we usually get a gap down. We get a gap down, that's a sign of an exhaustion gap. So with this potential double top from 451 zone, an exhaustion gap, a gap down tomorrow would be a bearish sign. Now, when was the last time we had an exhaustion gap? The last time we had an exhaustion gap was actually back on September 14th when we tested the 451 level, the 451-ish level. That same day when we tested that level, it didn't lead to much more downside. But the next day, when we got the gap down, it led to a lot more downside. Okay, but this right here, that's not an exhaustion gap. That's just what happened the last time we tested 451. Now, the last time we had an exhaustion gap was actually back on Uncle Charles' birthday. You guys remember, Discord members, you guys remember on my birthday when I said to you guys, oh, hopefully on my birthday, the market will bless us with a nice tradable day. Well, on my birthday, we had a pretty decent tradable day because that's actually where the top started. That wasn't the top, obviously, but that's where the top started. If you guys remember, we had an uptrend, the 2023 uptrend from January to July. And then what happened on my birthday? We had a gap down. Look at that. A gap down that went against the uptrend. That's an exhaustion gap. It's not the most impressive exhaustion gap, but that fits it. That fits everything. That's an exhaustion gap, and it led to more downside. We've been on a downtrend ever since. So if you are a bear, do not call a top. Do not call a top. Even though there's a potential double top, don't call a top. Wait for either a false breakout setup, like I said, loss of 448.7 would be a good sign, or an exhaustion gap down. All right, an exhaustion gap down. And shout out to my friend Cosmos, who brought up the pattern of the island reversal. Okay, the island reversal is an interesting pattern. So basically, what an island reversal is, when we get a gap up, it might have a couple of candle or a few candle, and then eventually we get a gap down. So when we gap up and then gap down, this right here would be an island. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that if we get an exhaustion gap, that's a potential island reversal, which is in this context is bearish. So watch out for the gap down, or like I said, the breakdown of 448.7, that would be bearish. Below 448.7, put 447.5, 446, 444, and 442 in play. Now, 442 is a very critical support level. That is based on the blue trend line here, this down trend line that we gapped above here. If we back test it, it'd be technically healthy, but bulls would need to step up and showcase buying pressure. If we test 442, I would trust the bounce if it recaptures 444 or get back above 446, something like that. But the back test will only start or be possible if we break below 448.7 or gap below. Remember the next support level. We gap below 448.7. Just remember what the next support level is. So if it gap below 448.7 and starts breaking down 446, that's bearish, guys. That is bearish. And lower targets would be in play. Now, a deeper correction would be if we break down 442. Yes, there is a gap at 440, but based on this structure, this pattern, below 442 would be a massive macro level false breakout setup. That'll be very bearish. Below 442 bears, based on this contact, bears will be in control. Okay, now that's the bear case scenario. Bull case scenario is the same thing as yesterday. Gotta break above 451. Okay, it gotta break above 451 and show follow through. A daily chart close above 451 would cancel the double top. If the double top is canceled, then we have no reason, at least for the short term, to be bearish. Okay, so above 451, I got 453, 455 in the gap fill. The gap fill all the way back in August 1st, the day before my birthday, at 456.5. All right, and if that gap breaks above 456.5, it gets filled and breaks above 458 and 459.5 would be back in play. That's July high. Okay, we'll see if we get a double top or if bears will step up there. Okay, but only possible if we can finally break above 451. Okay, remember, this is price action analysis. I'm just giving you some trade ideas. Short below 448.7, long above 451. We're just trying to keep it simple. We don't do this for predicting. I don't care what nobody says. It's not for predicting. Okay, we are doing it to identify possible scenarios and talk about how we would react to it. Okay, below 448.7, we're going to short. Above 451, we're going to long. Anything in between is still chop. Okay, there's no prediction here. We're just looking to react based on the price action, sheep style. Bah! Now let's move on to triple Q. Speaking of double tops, the July high was at 378. Today's high was at 387.75. Few cents shy, but would y'all consider that a potential double top? I would. I'm not going to trip over a few cents. That is, to me, a potential double top. So, if this is a legit double top, I mean, look at this move from late October. That is steep. All right, a pullback would be healthy. Not necessarily bearish, but it would be healthy. And to set the pullback off, it would need to break below. Back below this blue orange trend line. It's sloping up. It's around 385 right now. And triple Q is at 384.4. So it's well below that, decently below that orange trend line. So I'm gonna tell you right now, to be bullish, it has to stay above 385.2-ish. And it needs to clear 388 to avoid that double top to trigger more upside, okay? It needs to avoid the double top by clearing 388, all right? And that will put high targets in play, 390, 392, and so on. But as far as the bear case scenario and for this double top to play out, like I said with SPY, we need either a gap down, give us that exhaustion gap, aka island reversal, or just simply intraday with volume break back below 385.5. Okay, right now it's gap below, so it's possible we get an exhaustion gap. We'll see, guys. All right, we'll see. Watch that next support. It's at it's at 383. All right, if we gap below 385 and then we break down 383, that is bearish. 381, 378.2. And 375.6 would be in play. Below 375.6, we are likely going to head down to this, remember this wedge, this triangle pattern, whatever, the back test. We'll likely go back test it around 369 to 370 zone. Very possible. And obviously below 369 will be a false breakout. Bears would take over control. All right, so remember the levels, remember the triggers and the setups, and just play it unbiasedly, guys. IWM, it managed to close higher, but look at that long wick. Look at this blue line I got here. That's a macro level fib level. Let me zoom out. Okay, that's the 23.6 fib level. From all-time high down to October 2023 low. This is a macro level, 181.2. And look what's happening in the aftermarket. It's around 178.4. It's already trying to gap down. Is this an exhaustion gap, guys? Watch out now. IWM is around 178.4. All right. The critical support level, all right, next support is at 177, but the critical support level, it's a 38.2 fib level, 175.83. If that level fails, guys, that's bearish. Look to short. We're likely heading down 174, 172, and 170.4 in play. Okay, damn that wick. That's a hot stove rejection from a macro level, guys. Now, for me to take this wick a little less serious, we need to see some buying pressure to push it back up. Okay, above 180.2. And a break above 181.3 would be bullish, all right? Preferably above 182, all right? 180.2 and 182. Watch those two levels for more upside, and that will put more upside in play. 184.5, possibly up to 186 and 188, okay? 180.2 and 182. Watch those two levels for more upside. Otherwise, it's around 178.4. If 177 and 175.8 fills tomorrow, guys, we are heading down. Watch out for that exhaustion gap. Tesla. Look what Tesla did. Gapped up yesterday, showed more upside. Today showed more upside, closed higher. But look at that wick. Where did it sell from? A fib level. It's 246.68 is the 50% fib level. The high today was 246.70. You know, went a couple cents higher, but ultimately rejected from there and closed right at that multi-month trend line that I got there, that uptrend line, the 2023 uptrend line. That is a back test. And yes, I would consider that bears defending, but can they do it again tomorrow? At this point, I can only be bullish on Tesla if it breaks above 246.68. That's where the selling pressure was, and that's the 50% fib level. As of right now, it shows selling pressure, and it's gapping. It's already trying to gap down aftermarket. All right, it's around 241.5. So there's support at 240. If that level fails, holy moly, we're going to go down lower. 240, 238, 236.5, and 234. Below 234, that's a fib level. Bears in control. We're likely heading down a lot lower, maybe $10 move or something like that. But we're playing level to level. Below 234, I got 232, 230.8, and then possibly down to 228 and 226.7. Okay, guys, please add these levels to your charts. Uh-oh. Apple, that's a nice wick. It's a nice wick. It did close higher than, it's so confusing. It's confusing. That's why hopefully Uncle Charles is able to help. But we got to use the level. We got to keep our eyes on the price action. It's lingering around that 188 level. I got 188 as a support resistant level. Apple needs to make up its mind. Obviously, if it's above it, it's support. And if it's above it, 190 is the next resistance level that must clear. 190 clears, 191.6 and higher would be in play. There's a gap around 192.5, all right? Now, they have a nice long wick. If 188 breaks down, and especially 186.5, that's the trigger to go short. Be patient. 186.5 fail, that's the trigger to go short. I know RSI is overbought, but you got to use the price action. And like I said, 186.5 fail, that's the time to go short. Probably head down, back down, okay? 185, 183, maybe down to 181-ish, okay? NVDA, oh my gosh. Oh my God, tier 2 members. Did y'all trade NVDA? So for tier 2 members and tier 3 members, you guys have access to the trade ideas and the TA request room. This morning, I wrote this trade idea for NVDA. Keep in mind, I wrote an update on NVDA later in the day, which was also a good trade setup. But that was only because my tier 2, tier 3 members asked for it. So remember to tag me. If I put something in the trade idea room, you need an update. Tag me, especially if you're a tier 2 member. But I wrote here, support are at 500, 498.5, 497. And the critical one, the most important one, was 495.8. If these levels fail, especially 495.8, possible pullback with the lower targets in play. Holy moly. There it is. 495.86 was my 1.236 fib level, fib extension level. Broke it down, going as low as 482. Holy moly. And then I wrote in the update, okay, so far the drop in next support is at 483 and 480.8. Bearish below. I said trust no bounce unless 484.5 or 486 recapture. I wrote that at 1:18 p.m. And today we did get a bounce, and it bounced all the way back up to like 488-ish. That's around where it closed. So there was money to be made to the downside and to the upside. NVDA is just amazing. It's so volatile, unlike SPY sometimes. But look where it's at, 486. So next support is at 484.5, 483, and 481. 481 was a previous pivot high back on July 14. That's the green trend line. It tested around there as support, a few cents off, whatever. Ultimately, if 481 is lost, in my opinion, bears will take over. Today, it looked like we broke it out, back test as support successfully. Needs to show follow through. So it's around 486. It needs to clear 488, 490 to put higher targets in play. 492, 494, 496 and higher. Above 496, I would be bull bias. And maybe we go test all-time high, actually test it. But 499.5 would be next resistant above that. And then all-time high around 402.6s. Okay, it got to get above 488 and 490 to trigger more upside. As of right now, like I said, those will support 484.5, 483, and 481. If 481 fails, I will look to short. 476 is a fib level. Also a pivot high back in October 12th. Below that, we're going to go a lot lower. This is a very volatile stock. Meta also gave us some selling. Remember, I talked about the 1.236 fib level around 338.4. If below it, that's bearish, and it definitely aged pretty well, in my opinion. Going as low as 330. Okay, that's a support I actually had as well. So 330 is support. If bears want more downside tomorrow, they're going to have to break down 330 to put 328, 326, and play below 326 is very bearish. Will likely drop down to 321, okay, or lower. All right, at this point, I will only trust the bounce, as always, when we clear some resistance. So, the resistance that I have is at 332.3. The critical resistance is at 338.4. Below that is 337 and 335 and 333.5. Okay, so I said that backward, goodness. Next resistance is at 333.5. If that clears, more upside income at 335, 337, and then 338.5. That's where we got some strong selling pressure. If that clears, I'll be very bullish, all right? AMD, strong selling pressure today as well, but didn't quite broke down that 61.8 fib level at 117.5 is, okay? It's gapping below it. So if it gap below it, opens below it, that's a good sign. Exhaustion gap, guys. Remember, we had that big rejection yesterday on Tuesday from this macro level fib level, okay? It was at 122.2-ish, okay? 61.8 fib level. We broke that down back in June. Back tested it yesterday. Showed a little follow through. So tomorrow, if 117.5 breaks down or gaps below it, that's very bearish. Watch support 115, 113. If those levels fail, very bearish. Putting lower targets in play. Look to short, guys, all right? Bullish case, got to stay above 117.5. Not looking too good right now, but got to get back above 117.5 and 119 and try to test that 122-ish level again. Give it another shot. If it can, double top. Oh, look, another double top. Canceled, and we'll likely head up higher, all right? Overall, it's kind of looking bearish, guys, all right? Now, let's end this with the flows in the dark pool. 1.3 billion at 448.8. I was actually around today's low. Look at that. So, if it below that level, I was listening to music. If we below that level, tomorrow, bearish, obviously, based on dark pool level. But if we can stay above it, overall bullish still, okay? Let's take a look at the flows. All right, filter for 500K premiums or above. It's overall bearish. Will they be right? Even QQQ is bearish. No divergence with the flows. IWM is kind of bullish, guys. It's a little bit. Tesla is bullish. Apple is bullish. NVDA is kind of bullish. Meta, nothing. And AMD. It's bullish. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want more content from Uncle Charles, please consider joining the Discord. I would love to serve you guys at a higher level. Other than that, have a great evening. Peace.